Hello, KubeConEU. Thank you so much for joining today's demo and focus session on reimagining the cloud-native threat matrix. My name's Keith Mokris, Head of Product Marketing for Prisma Cloud, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-presenter, Ashley Ward, Field CTO here at Palo Alto Networks. Prior to Palo Alto Networks, Ashley was a solutions engineer at Twistlock, focused on helping customers enable and improve containers and Kubernetes security, based in the UK. Prior to that, he was at Aegon, helping them work through digital transformation and public cloud infrastructure efforts built on top of Red Hat OpenShift. Ashley, thanks so much for joining me today here at KubeConEU.
Thanks very much for having me, Keith.
We're really excited with today's session where we're going to talk about risk in cloud-native applications and a new dashboard soon to be released as part of Prisma Cloud. To begin, we want to talk a little bit about how cloud security across a diverse tech stack is challenging. And this is certainly something to remember as organizations in the audience are adopting cloud-native architectures built on top of cloud VMs, hosts, containers, Kubernetes, or serverless application architectures. And as you run these in the public cloud on top of some of the cloud service providers listed, you have to think of security not only focused on the application layer across the tech stacks I just mentioned, but also across all of the application components. So any sort of identity or permission components, automation servers, storages, database servers. And essentially, it's this interconnected fabric that adds to risk and certainly requires full stack protection across the application lifecycle. And ultimately, this brings us to the highlight of today's demo, our cloud-native threat matrix referencing the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And what's unique about what we're releasing in Prisma Cloud is essentially what we've done is we've mapped our alerts and appropriate responses to 12 distinct categories, helping enable better incident response and better event correlation. And so what Ashley's going to show in the demo in just a couple of moments is our new dashboard helping users understand audits and attacks, and how we can deliver this coverage across any different cloud-native application architecture. So whether you're focusing on cloud VMs, containers and Kubernetes, or serverless, we've packed a lot of punch into this new dashboard. And what you're going to be able to see is how you can look at events based on time of detection, being able to dive deeper into them to see more details about each event and audit information. And then finally, and this is important, investigate forensic event data and obviously enable appropriate incident response. Following this intro, I'm really excited to kick it over to Ashley to show you what we've built.
Thanks very much, Keith. Let me get my screen shared out properly. Here it goes. So, I think it's really important to say that you can, throughout the time we've done anything with Palo Alto Networks and Prisma Cloud, is you can get tools that will give you, oh, here's scan information about something. And really, you want to have that in context, and that was something that's carried on all the way through the product. It's about, well, okay, but what does that mean to me? And I certainly know from having run platforms and run platforms in public cloud that you need the context to be able to actually action something effectively. So yes, you could have lots of different alerts coming through, but unless you know what that means and how to apply it, it's sometimes just a flood of information that I can't actually action. And so just as you said, we're using industry standard framework to say, okay, well, of all the information that I could be getting overloaded with, what does it actually mean? So, picking at something here, software deployment tools, I can understand what that means. I can see that's in my lateral move. We're using that dashboard and this interface that we have. And before anybody shouts, yes, of course, this could all be coming out in logging, could be consumed by your automation or anything around there. But purely through looking at it, understanding what this is, understanding the context in regards to a framework, and being able to say, okay, what does this mean? Well, I can see pretty clearly that something has happened. I've got the audit information to tell me more about that. I've got more information about what action was actually taken by Prisma Cloud and Prisma Cloud Compute in this case. So we had the effect was we're going to raise an alert. That could have been to block something happening. We could have been actively saying, we as a security posture do not allow this kind of activity. In this case, though, for my wonderful demo environment, it's alert. Let's see what it is. I can see the rule that's there and all that good stuff. But more than that, I can actually go, well, how was this, what was the context around this? Okay, something happened. I have a container ID and a name, but what if that was an ephemeral container? What if it's gone now? Well, that's where we've got the forensics, as Keith mentioned there, a really important point. This is like a black box recorder of everything that's happened to that container. Now, notice I could have just had, here's the container ID that was there. Go and look through your Kubernetes auditing, or go and look through the other logs that have been generated, then try and tie that to a framework. But we've not. We've got it right there in the product, right there for us to see, this is the framework, this is the incident, this is the forensic information about that, going all the way back to when that container started. Now, in my lab, obviously that wasn't for very long, but based on how much data you're storing, we can have that from the moment, cradle to grave for those containers and for each container. And also, because I love this feature when it came out so much, this particular one, you can on demand ask. You don't need to wait for an incident to happen. You can say, tell me everything that's happened with that container. But anyway, I digress slightly away there. You can see there, we're back to this one, going through that same, the user interface to say what happened, this is what happened. Now, how do we generate this? How do we know that something wasn't meant to happen? Maybe I have containers that are meant to download kubectl. I mean, I probably shouldn't, but let's say I do. Okay, well, that's where the model comes in. And the model is crucial. The model is where we look and say, right, what are the activities that this is meant to do? In this fun little one we've got here, we have learned that this container, when it runs, is only meant to run tail. We've got the parent-child relationship of the processes, obviously a little bit of a silly example, but an example that was automatically learned about that behavior. Done so in CI/CD, or done so as soon as we see that container run. And then that means that no matter what that container does outside of the ordinary, we can trigger that alert, we can take that blocking action, and we can put that out to syslog or anything else that you've got there. And doing that across the processes, the networking, which this one has none. So if it was to suddenly open a listening port, well, that's going to be an anomaly, and that's going to generate all those different alerts. And doing the same through the file system, and we can go into other capabilities as well. And now we've drilled through all of this from this one interface here. We could have used a different way of going into it, but it's really put that in context. So automatic learning about what the containers should do. And Keith is right to say that this isn't just about containers, although that's where I'm focusing at the moment. This could be about the other technologies you're using, other workloads you're protecting. But actually, we're automatically learning this. We're automatically generating those alerts, whether it's alert or block. And then we're putting that information in a way for you to consume here, going to a framework. Again, we could have done this through different areas. We could have looked and seen, these are the active incidents that are going on. Let's work through these to get them green. We could have had that prioritized based on the environment. This is the change over time. This is what we need to improve. But this new feature, being able to tie that in to an actual framework, means that we make security easy to consume and easy to use. I know that we're not a huge amount of time. Keith, do you want to take us out? Maybe ask somebody if they want to swing by the booth.
You bet. So a huge thank you, Ashley, for walking us through these new capabilities and kind of giving this high-fly demo. We certainly want to invite everyone who's attending KubeConEU to come by our booth. We're going to have raffles throughout the week and also a bunch of giveaways like stickers and the like. So please stop by and visit Prisma Cloud by Palo Alto Networks at KubeConEU. Thanks so much, everyone.